Hi there, welcome back to part 2 of the video series on starting your own garden. And let's just jump straight into it. You know, the holy trinity of love in my world is thinking love, speaking love, and doing love. So if we talk about thinking love when it comes to beginning your gardening project, then obviously you are going to come up or will need to consider some options as to what is it that you might want to grow and what kind of seeds you will purchase, or what kind of initial smaller plants that you may acquire from your gardening store, or you might borrow from a friend or a family member in order to grow. And there will be a lot of thinking and pondering and consideration. And I really truly hope, as I finished part 1, is that you're doing it from a place of love and excitement and joy, and that you feel like you're going on a bit of an adventure with your lovely gardening project. And when you say at that moment in time, when you've got all the soil with you, you've got the seeds, you've got the water, you've got the fertilizer, whatever else it is that you need, your gloves, gardening gloves, perhaps a mask as well, because you're working with the soil, right, to make sure that what you're doing is healthy and safe. And I thoroughly encourage everybody, when you're actually planting or you're seeding, putting seeds in the soil, whether that's in the greenhouse or you're just going straight into the soil, whatever it is, you do you know your best. And during that process, thank the planet. Thank the planet, thank the Divine Mother, thank the beautiful feminine energy for the joy of actually doing this activity, with her. It's a connected experience. And thank her in advance for the fruit that you will reap in due course as a result of whatever you're planting, right? Pray. If you do pray, and prayer is an act of love in my life, pray for that soil. Pray for those seeds. Pray for the journey for yourself and for that piece of, for your own garden. Send some loving energy. Visualize golden or white or green even energy all throughout the garden. Visualize it, and you can do that at the time of obviously doing the gardening, or the visualization aspect can be done at any point in time, be that on your bed, on your couch, at your work, on a bus, if you're commuting to work. You can do that visualization at any point in time, and it is powerful. Visualizations are huge, because it's your intention and sending energy to a particular matter. Now, the other thinking about love is that a gardening process, it's a project, right? It's an ongoing project. It's going to take time, and so you can think love and pray for your garden, for the processes that are undertaken over a course of a period of time. And you will be doing regular check-ins, right? Because that's you thinking love about your garden. You're checking in on the plants. You will be checking on their levels of moisture. Do they require more water? What about the level of sun and sunlight that the plants are getting? All these things will be on your mind, and I hope they are. And if you're one of those individuals that forgets things, then I thoroughly encourage you to set a reminder on your phone or on your diary. Write it down or put it in your calendar to make sure that you do check in on your garden. It's a living thing. Every single plant, every single matter is a living. It's got consciousness in it. And so you treat it like, I'm looking at a plant here, you treat it like another human being. Yes, it might not have a mouth to be able to speak back at you, but the fact it's a living thing, it grows. So treat it with that respect and love and tender care, and that does require regular check-ins. And another part that I had in mind when thinking love about your gardening and that process, it's all about actually showing forgiveness to yourself as well as to your garden if something doesn't quite go to plan, because mistakes do happen. If you're a beginner and you be like me in the whole gardening process, you may do things inadvertently that are not quite right, and you learn through that process. It's all part of the education, right? But just be forgiving with yourself, learn from the mistakes, and move on. You know, it all goes towards that element of patience, right, that we discussed in part 1, and it actually builds your own skill and your own ability to be more, perhaps more effective or more efficient next time. And that we all learn through mistakes, we all make mistakes, it's all okay. But have that patience, and so think love to yourself as well, because, you know, don't be too hard on yourself throughout this process, and certainly don't let it be a setback for your whole project. Just because some things might go not the way you expected them to go, that's okay. It's not, that doesn't mean that you're a bad gardener and that's the end of your gardening journey, right? Just try again. Try again. Think love, pray for love, pray for the beautiful angels, archangels, you know, the spirits that assist with all matters to do with growth and growth of your own food, growth of plants, growth of flowers. Pray for them. See if they can send you beautiful energy to help you with your project, or give you some physical evidence or signs or information that you might be lacking in order to assist you on your journey and assist you with your gardening. Now, in terms of speaking love, well, if you can think it, you can always speak it. You know, share. You know, speak out loud towards your plants. What came to my mind was I saw a video a couple of, I want to say years ago now, actually. Time flies when you're having fun. A video about an experiment at school whereby there were 2 separate plants, and this was done at school, and kids on their journey, on their way, would come to one plant and say some really good things towards one plant, but they would say not so nice things to the other plant. And they observed what happened over a course of period of time, what happened to those plants. And you wouldn't believe it, but the plant that was getting, you know, positive words, encouragement, support, just lovely, lovely, lovely things, was actually flourishing. It was growing, it was beautiful, it was just showing off, you know, how vibrant it is. And unfortunately, the plant that was receiving the not so nice messages and not so nice words was actually not in a healthy manner. Like, it just kind of drooped. It just looked like it was on its way to becoming, you know, dry and decaying and unhealthy. It really did not. It looked sickly. Like, genuinely, the plant looked like it was sickly. And that was an experiment that showed the power of words and the impact that it has on others. And so I suggest that during your gardening process, don't underestimate the power of what you're saying and the words that you use during that process. Whether you're talking to the, you know, in the environment you're talking about gardening, not to the plants themselves, or you're talking about something else potentially in that environment whilst you're gardening. Be mindful of the energy that you bring with you during that process, and let that be a trigger or a reminder that perhaps it's time to speak love. You know, be kind. Speak in a loving tone, say some nice things, be inspired, and, you know, be creative with what you say. Send love and thanks and gratitude. You know, when in doubt, just even say, you know, thanks in advance for whatever it is that you are going to bring my way. You know, any kind of beautiful positive energy that I'm going to receive back as a result of you growing in my, you know, location. And apologies for the noise. I can hear bikes outside. Apologies for them. I think the bikes have gone. Apologies for that. So the last thing about speaking love that I had is, if you are inspired to have started on your gardening project, whatever it might be, and you are very welcome to obviously share your passion, your insights, your learnings with others. Be that in the comments down below. You know, feel free to chuck in some emojis of garden, plants, any fruits or veggies that you might be growing. Share your photos if you are okay to share with those. I'm going to share a few of mine in this video. But talk to others about it. You know, talk to your family and your loved ones. Talk to your kids about it if you have any kids in your life. And it might be a conversation starter over Friday night drinks with your colleagues, because it's a passion, it's something new that you've started and you're enjoying it, you're having fun. Because guess what, that might inspire others to actually get into gardening themselves. And I'm a big believer that actually, if you think about it, gardening and growing your own, say, food actually is a huge multiplier of love, because as a result of one little seed, you can have so much abundance, so many fruits and veggies or herbs if you're growing herbs, and they keep, because of the nature of the cycles, that keeps regrowing, and you get this continuous cycle of goodies, of just abundance, something that can actually, give you energy, because obviously if you eat a particular fruit or vegetable, it gives you energy. That's what we need, and energy transforms from one state to another to give us the energy that we require. But it's a multiplication of life. It's literally an example of how something tiny can become so much more over a long period of time. It's like repeating itself. It's just beautiful. I just love that about gardening, and the beautiful divine mother, and the energy of birthing and growing, and the cycles that are involved, rinse and repeat. It just continues and continues, and it's a multiplication of love, an example of multiplication of love. And if you're inspired to speak with others and you share your knowledge and learnings with others about gardening, people will see the sparkle in your eyes when you discuss that subject, and it will get others inspired. I'm sure there will be others who will be inspired to grow their own food and kick off their own gardens, even if it's in the tiniest of apartments, and you might not even have a balcony. You might just simply have a windowsill, or a kitchen where you might have just a few pots to try and grow a few herbs. You don't really need a lot. You can start gardening in any kind of place, wherever you might be. And now, if we move on, just mindful of the time here, to doing love. And when it comes to gardening, well, obviously you are going to be there's going to be a lot of action involved during your gardening process, be that finding the soil, nurturing the soil, fertilizing the soil, planting the seeds, or replanting the seeds into a bigger space for the plants to actually root themselves and grow into the bigger plants that they will eventually become. You will harvest the fruit or the vegetables, right? The outcome that beautiful plant produces for you. And there'll be a lot of watering, because plants need water. There'll be you might have to consider actually different seasons, and obviously your plants will require different kind of care and nurturing throughout different seasons of that you're living in, be it winter or summer, spring or autumn. And therefore how you take care of your garden will change over a period of time. So you need to be a little bit of a chameleon, and you have to adjust to the conditions, and you have to forecast what's ahead. You will have to plan ahead a little bit and set reminders as to when things need to be done and how and why. And just another thing about doing love during gardening, like I mentioned, have fun with your kids. If you have kids in your life, get them involved with the gardening. Let them help you. Teach them about where food actually comes from. The fact that it doesn't just come from the supermarket or wherever you might be getting your food or your veggies, your fruit. It comes from the ground, and different plants grow in different conditions. They grow in completely different ways. Some grow inside the soil, some are above soil, some on the trees, some on the bushes, right? Berries grow in bushes. So things like that are part of kids' learning and development, right? And the beauty is that if you teach them young, and I was, some of you might know that I grew up in Ukraine, where people do grow a lot of their own food. It was very much a lifestyle of my family, and so I grew up knowing how to plant things because I've observed my family members doing it, and I have been I guess because of that upbringing, I knew where my food comes from. I was a big proponent of, natural things. So here's another part of doing love towards your garden, is trying to minimize, chemicals and hazardous substances, trying to be as natural as you can be, applying some sustainable practices in terms of your gardening, and researching a bit about that, what's harmful, what's not harmful for you, as well as your garden, your soil, and just trying to be as applying some really good green, environmentally friendly practices will do you good, and it will do good for your own beautiful garden. And on the subject of teaching and educating your kids, it does. I've got some toys here from part one. I mentioned I was just inspired to grab some from my daughter's play garden. She's got peas and carrots and other goodies. But teach your kids as well, if you do have little ones with you, about what is it that you're doing, why you're doing it, but also things like fertilizers. Why do you need to fertilize the soil? What are some mechanisms, what are some approaches that you can take in order to help the soil be in the most perfect conditions for the plants? The benefit and the power of water, how to bless water. So I might link down below a video I did recently about caring for water and how you can bless your water. So of course, during the gardening process, you may wish to undertake a little bit of a blessing ritual before you water your plants. So I'll link that down below for you to watch about caring for water. And last point before I wrap up and we jump into part 3, and be open to the fact that obviously with any kind of planting and the plants starting to grow, those sorts of things start attracting insects and bugs. Ants, as an example, you might have ladybugs come through, might have other like little bugs. I remember when I was growing parsley, I would have like parsley bugs. I'm sure that's not their name, but I had bugs that would run over the parsley. There will be bees coming to your area because of the flowers, and they can see it, they can probably smell the plants. So spiders as well. So be mindful that there will be more insects around the area, and celebrate that biodiversity. I think it's a celebration, and it's another opportunity for you to learn more about the insect world and bugs' life and what they do and why they do it. Teach your kids about it. And so because of that, be mindful of using chemicals and other substances when you do your gardening, because of the fact that there will be other living beings, other living things, other living organisms as a result of your journey into kicking off your own garden. Yes, so I'm going to wrap up part 2 at that point. Now let's jump into part 3, where we receive any messages from the spirit world. I hope you are inspired to practice love, and we'll discuss some practical tips here, but let's just jump, on that note, let's jump into part 3. I'll see you in part 3. Click on the link down below and we'll talk about the wrap up and something else, a few more bits and bobs in part 3. See you shortly.